Okay.
So be careful what you say.
Hey, Brianna.
Ooh,
Hello.
I almost lost my computer. Sorry.
Oh, hi, Lee and Heather. Nice to see you.
Hi.
I'll give everyone a minute or two to sign
Okay.
on.
Looks like we got a lot of folks who are having kind of a Monday in terms of maybe not so much wanting to be on camera. Hi, Kayla.
Hey, Mary.
It's not just a Monday, it's August 17th already. I looked at the calendar. I thought, holy moly.
Really? Halfway through August. Hey, Suzanne.
Around the corner.
Yeah. But in the meantime, we still have people participating from outside, which is lovely, or almost outside, which is great. Hey, Sarah. Oh, yeah. Look, everybody.
Sarah. It's very pretty, Mary.
Oh, isn't it? You know, it's that I had a choice of colors. So this is what.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. I was near the ocean last week and was climbing on boulders, which I love to do in the ocean. I looked for tide pools and stuff, and I stepped on one that was slippery, and I went down, and I fractured my wrist.
I think that's a really serious get out of taking meeting notes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using them to listen. But Mary, are you ready?
Yeah, I am.
Why am I not showing up on the computer? That's the other thing, too.
Hey, Amy Relier, we can hear you.
There I am.
Sure.
Oh.
All right,
So,
go back to that screen.
If emails from me are short and to the point, you know why.
Audio. Computer.
Oops.
All right, it's 3 past. We'll give everyone 1 minute more. So people are still arriving.
Hi, Amy Relier.
Hi, Mary. I'm on Lucy's computer, so I'm just trying to figure out how to make everything work.
Well, we can hear you loud and clear, so that's good.
God. I still can't hear.
Can you hear us now? Okay.
All right, well, welcome everyone to our What's Up for Fall Youth Services meeting. I thought it would be I mean, it is August 17th and fall is right around the corner. The shadows are getting longer, and so I think, you know, everyone was sort of planning for what to do for fall back in March, June, July, and now it's August, and so hopefully we can gather our combined knowledge from our 3 systems and have a discussion about what people are planning for fall. What are we going to do? What's it going to look like? How can we be nimble and be ready for something that we've never been through before? And hopefully we can walk away from this meeting either with some ideas from our colleagues and questions we can share with each other, and hopefully this will be helpful to everyone. I know that a lot of people, and maybe I should just introduce myself. My name is Jack, and I work at the Southern Adirondack Library System. And many of the librarians in our system have had a lot of questions about, and a lot of discussions about what fall is going to look like at the library. So today, we're going to go over a few things, and I would love to have all of your input. You know, typical online meeting, you know, please mute yourself, and then when you have the chance, please unmute yourself. You don't need to ask permission. You can just go ahead and jump right in. So today, I think we're going to kind of break it down into sort of little manageable parts. So we'll sort of talk about fall programming, story times. If you have questions that you would like to share or group think with everybody, please keep them in mind and keep them on your fingertips for when the time comes. We'd also like to talk about supporting homeschool and hybrid learners in the fall, and also a little bit about what other educational institutions are doing. What are school librarians doing? What are some of our museum colleagues up to? And also, one of the other aspects is everything is really virtual these days. Will it continue to be so? But also, how can we support our community members with little or no internet access? So those are a few of the things that we hope to discuss today, and hope to have your ideas and inputs on. So maybe we should just jump right in. And I would love to hear some of your thoughts on ideas on fall programming. So what are you planning? Are you going to do sort of take and make? Do you have any intentions of virtual performers? Will your programs be in-house, or are they still going to be virtual? Will you do any outdoor programming? And have you discussed this with people at your library or anyone else?
I'm Anne Marie from Colony. Happy birthday, Debbie. We're continuing take and makes crafts. We're doing one for younger kids that's just a craft, and then elementary age STEAM related. We do not plan to do in-person at least through January, possibly December break. We are planning to do some virtual programs where kids pick up the supplies and then we meet on Zoom and do the activity together.
Kind of doing the same thing. We're going to do fun make and takes with crafts and books that go along with it, but we're thinking every month we'll offer 2 homeschooling curriculum packets. I know right now I'm working on like Christopher Columbus, and we're connecting it to math, science, history, ELA, and providing some activities for parents to do for different ages. We will be doing some Zoom story hours, but also make and take crafts where people can come pick up their things and then make it with us on Zoom. We also will not be doing programming until after January here at Canterbury.
Guilderland's going to be along the same lines of doing pickup kits and no in-person programming or performers planned, at least for early fall. It's hard to know, just kind of working around school, because Guilderland schools are planning to be opened and they're doing crazy every other day schedules. And I don't know, it's a lot for us to figure out where we fit in.
This is Ruth Schaff from Galway. Sorry if you can't understand me, it's hard to speak to. We're trying to start some things in September, but instead of doing 4 or 5 youth groups a week, we're going to get down to 2. One of them would be our Tuesday morning preschools read along. And we have a large enough space that we can sit everybody socially distanced and everybody will wear their masks. Generally, we do a craft along with that. And so in order for people, like usually if we're having them color a picture, we put a big pot of crayons in the middle of the table and everybody picks their colors. But what we'll do this time is I'll make up little individual baggies and each one will have the same colors. So somebody doesn't say, I want turquoise, you gave me navy blue. So, we'll be careful. Everybody gets the same colors in their Ziploc baggies. Everybody, of course, will have to wash their hands and use sanitizer before and after the events. And of course, I'll have to clean off the table before and after. The parents are usually there, so we don't have too much trouble with kids going a little crazy. The parents will, make sure they stay in their little spot and don't make too much of a mess. If we don't have too many kids, we can do it in our children's room, but that's only got a small table. So we do have our large program room it's got lots of big tables, and we can just space them out and put chairs where they'd be 6 feet apart, or if we have 2 kids from one family, they can sit close. We also, if the weather is nice, hopefully we'll have our big canopy up and we can put tables under there and chairs, and we could sit outside and do the programs. But of course, that means there has to be planning for each one of those possibilities and then having to get it all done ahead of time. But I'd like to do things to get the kids back in. We've been doing our garden club not very often. We've had 4 families come. We do it a family at a time, and we have to plan a time where I will be there with them and they can do whatever needs to be done. If we have 2 families on the same day, they have to come at different times. Most of the families, it's 1 adult and 2 kids that come. That makes that pretty easy. And of course, the kids get so excited that they're actually back at the library. They're excited they're outside, and they're excited they're playing in dirt. So that works so well. We're going to try and
I have a question for you. Are you having, so for the in-person story times, are you having any sort of registration?
There is supposed to be, and we're going to have to publish that again and really make sure that they follow the rules because usually 1 or 2 people may register, but for the most part, people just come in. I think with the situation we're in now, people realize you can't have even 5 or 6 kids just drop in without any kind of notification they're coming.
Right.
I think people realize the situation. But we will have
Do you
to
have
put out.
public, can I ask a question
Yeah.
quick? Do you have public restrooms open?
We have 1 public restroom. Well, actually, there are 2 now. 1 is supposed to be for staff, but some of the little kids consider that their bathroom because it's right near their kids' room. We do have a lady who comes in and does the cleaning, and we have it down to 1 bathroom so she wouldn't have to be cleaning all 3 of them as frequently. And with the little kids, that is something. We also have those wipes, and we can, after someone has gone through, just hand a wipe to the parents or whatever and say, could you wipe down the toilet and first of all, the handles and then the toilet, and so that it's clean for the next person coming through.
Thanks, Ruth.
Sure.
Thank you.
We have a question in the chat, which Susan from the Town of Ballston Community Library, I would love to hear more details about what libraries are thinking to include in the homeschooling program packets. what will be included in these crafts and actual virtual book recommendation, any other things, and we'll reach out to the school to get topic ideas. So Caitlin, maybe this one's directed at you since you mentioned your homeschooling packets.
I did not reach out to the school for ideas. I come from a homeschooling family, so I have a lot of background and resources available through the curriculums we've used and the homeschooling groups I've been a part of.
Excuse me, just a minute. Everybody, if you're not talking, could you mute yourself, please? Even those folks on the phone, that would be really helpful. Thanks. Okay.
I'm including a lot of different things. So I have some money in a grant that I'm using for this. So I have, in the one I'm working on now, like 3 books. One is specifically for like a young adult age group. I found some articles online to help them start a search. I'm doing like writing prompts, like what would you keep in a captain's log? So there's worksheets and activities, and I'm just using like Pinterest and these homeschooling resources that I have access to make them. Communities, I mean, if you find your homeschooling group and reach out to them, they'll tell you what they want, and they're usually pretty honest, like, and open about the resources that they're looking for and what they need. So that's pretty much how I've done it.
Thank you.
I can talk a little bit about what we're doing at Saratoga Springs Public Library. For our make and take crafts, we've been using Animoto a lot. So we got a library account for Animoto, and we've been making short videos all summer. And so we're going to do the make and takes. We haven't started that yet, but we're kind of getting it together. And then we're going to have an Animoto video, instructional video to go along with it, so that, and we'll put that on our social media so that people can, you know, get the instructions and actually follow along with us and do it. And then, let's see, what was the other other things that we're doing? We're doing online Zoom story times. Right now, we've mainly been doing the ones that are just on recorded story times, but we're going to start the Zoom story times and see how that goes. And then registration would be required for that too.
Great. It's useful to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. So I haven't used Animoto. Is that just some recording software?
It's a platform you can use to make videos, really an easy way to produce videos. You can add text and you can add photos and you can add short video clips to the videos. We actually have a bunch of them on our website right now on our social media, on our YouTube page under the Saratoga Springs Public Library. We've got a bunch of Animoto videos that we've made. We've done it for like book talks. So we have like a teen book chat, and then we have middle grade book talks, and we just kind of upload like our picture or a video of us doing the book chat, and then you can actually add text along with it and music, and it just it's a really easy way to make kind of a professional looking video. So
cool. Thank you. Any other thoughts on fall programming? So we've heard quite a bit about some take and make and videos of that accompany them. It looks like Galway is doing some in-person story times and programming. Are any other libraries doing in-person or anything in-house? I know a few of the libraries in our system have done some programming recently over the summer outdoors. Has anyone thought about anything of that nature?
I'm Sarah from Albany Public Library, and we had asked about it, but we're told not to do any outdoor programs until spring. So I don't know when in-house programs will begin. But we were told that it wouldn't be following the safety protocols that we've been putting in place, trying to make everything safe. So we're just trying to do everything online right now. And we'll be starting our live weekly story times. We haven't done anything like that yet. We've just had recorded ones that we've done at home on our YouTube page, but we're going to be starting that within the next few weeks. And other stuff we've done, we're actually going to be bringing back our very popular First Saturday for Families program, which is usually for kids 0 to 7, but this will be for 2 to 8. And the way we're going to do it, we were going to do something live over Zoom, but we decided to record videos, and we also have a craft, so kids will pick up their take and make crafts and do it along with video. It will be premiered on YouTube, so at the actual date that the normal program would be, the first Saturday at 10:30. So we'll just keep it that way. But that made it a little bit special instead of just having something where they can click a link and follow it. And then we're doing some book and craft talks, which will be Zoom meetings. So the kids will read the book a couple weeks beforehand and get together. They'll have a craft that goes along with that. And I'm part of that team. But I haven't been doing any teen stuff. So I don't know exactly what people are planning for that. But everything's recorded or virtual.
There was a question in chat, Jack, that went along with the signing people up for Zoom story times. And the question to the group is, how are libraries signing families up for story times on Zoom? Are they calling in? Are they using a Google form? Does anybody have any suggestions on that?
We're just using our online calendar. So they're going to go through there, but they can still call if they have problems or they want to do it over the phone. And then I guess we'll send the link. We haven't done it yet, so I don't know 100% how it's going to work, but they'll register through that, and then we'll end up sending them a Zoom link.
Good.
And it'll be webinar style as well.
Great. That keeps it safe from Zoom bombing to be able to get them a link individually. Makes good sense.
This is Susan from the Town of Ballston Community Library. Just wanted to add a couple things. We are looking at a park for some of our fall programming. I'm not sure yet if that's actually going to work out, but we are investigating that. And the other thing is that we've done a lot of programs this summer virtually over Zoom. Some of them were just the kids watching them. Others were very interactive. We have them sign up in our online catalog, and then the day before the event, after the registration has closed, we pull the list of all the attendees and their emails, and we send an email kind of personalized for that program. We're so happy that you're going to join us tomorrow. Here's what you need to know. Here's the link. And we haven't had anybody complain or miss it. They seem to be pretty happy with that. So that's worked for us.
Great. I'm going to pick up one other chat comment for the folks who are on the phone. Alyssa from Crandall Public Library in Glens Falls says, we will continue our story times we post on Facebook, a weekly origami video, and we have a librarian reading some chapter books. We will be continuing our virtual programs for the foreseeable future. We've discussed make and take crafts, but have not put it into action yet. So I'm interested in the weekly origami video and wondering if that is or could be something where folks pick up the origami paper. I know they could use their regular plain old paper at home as well, but I mean, that might make it a little more special if you had origami and could do a few of these. So Alyssa, if you have a chance to put any more in the chat about that, we'd be happy to hear it. Or if anybody else has done origami in any sort of way, I'd like to know.
This is Lee from Westerlo. One of our take and makes was an origami, and what we did is we did a video, and we had a packet with paper in it, and then when we took it to the resource center, they had extra paper in case multiple members of the family to do the origami.
Nice, thank you.
I would like to point out at this point that origami is a really important skill for when you do grow up, because if you go and you have to sign up, like you go to a birding event, for example, and they're giving away a pass, you write your name down on the ticket and then you fold it into a certain shape and put it in with everybody else. And then the person who's pulling it out will pull out, you know, something they can actually grab on, and you could win an $83 Parks ticket, of which we now saved $23. So this is an important skill that should be promoted. Just letting you all know from personal experience.
Totally agree, Sue. And I think in the future, you know, as we unfold in the solar system, folding up these small satellite pieces into something that can be shot into space and then unfold origami is a crucial skill. Oh no, thanks Mary for checking the chat. I've got too many screens going on here.
I'd like to ask if folks on the subject of programming for the fall and also sort of what's been done, I'd like to ask if anybody has done outside performers and how they've made those available and what the reception was.
Waterville had some for summer reading, Mary, that were, they were videos that were prepared and posted in advance. One of them, though, it was shared with multiple libraries, so it's kind of hard to exactly tell how many of your own customers were tuning in.
Okay.
Because the performer created the link and then, you know, could have shared it with anyone.
Yeah.
But I mean, the couple kids that, you know, said something about it seemed to enjoy it anyway. We did turtle dance music, did one, and also Ishu and Mokoto did some stories for us.
Good, thanks, Kelly.
Over at Bethlehem, we've done a few. We did like a Jester Gym, which was live. You know, we had a nice turnout compared to like some of our own produced programs, but compared to like what we would have in person, you know, it was not as good. And I think that that's what we're finding overall. One of the librarians partnered with a local dance studio, and the dance teacher did a live like dance interpretation, and my librarian read some books. So, you know, again, that was a better turnout than maybe a normal story time, but compared to like an in-person event, it's still really small. So we're kind of struggling to want to pay performers for a small turnout. We're doing it, but just not very many or not as much.
Yeah.
This is Melinda Taramina from the Clifton Park Library. We usually do very well with the puppet people, and we had them this summer, and we had very, very low attendance. And Roger Tinknell, we usually get about 150 people. We had 10. So any performers that we've had on Zoom or on our YouTube channel, we've had a very, very low turnout. So we've decided that maybe for the fall, we might bring in 2 performers. But other than that, we're doing virtual story times, music in motion, babies, things like that. We're just going to keep it in-house.
This is Anne Marie from Colony. We had we hired the Spoonman, Jim Cruz. He did our family night program last week, and we had a pretty good turnout for him because people could watch and have a pair of spoons with them and play spoons following him. And we also had Jester Jim. We didn't get as many people, but that was a great program too. And both performers recorded the live event and gave us the link that's good for the rest of the summer.
Great. Okay, so just a reminder, guys, if you're not speaking, if you could mute yourself.
Sorry, Mary, I just muted everybody, so that way if you need to speak, please unmute yourself.
This is Kayla from Schenectady, and like Clifton Park, like you had, Melinda, we didn't have great attendance at our performers. The one performer that we hired that did really well this summer, Concerts for Tots, did a great YouTube video that had some instruction built into it about the instruments that the performers were using. The video, I think, was maybe like 30 minutes altogether, and they gave us the link so that we could leave it up on YouTube, and I think we got about 120 views on the video, which was by far the best of any of the attendance that we had for our hired performers for the Summer Reading Challenge program. But yeah, Concerts for Tots was a hit. We had a magician who April, one of my librarians, had seen at he'd done like a birthday party, and she saw it on Facebook. Mike Segi was his name, and I think he's out of like Buffalo, and he was really good on Zoom. He was our first performer, and he was really good. But yeah, Turtle Dance, we didn't get great numbers for, and most of the rest of them, it was like maybe, 15, 20. They started off stronger, and then they petered at the end of the summer, for sure, attendance-wise. Yeah.
Is that the general consensus from everyone about virtual performances and story times? They maybe started off with a bang, but have slowed down a little bit. I see some people nodding. I'd love to hear your experiences.
Our experience was pretty much the same. We started off really strong, and then it kind of dwindled down. We even had Elsa and Anna come, and only 2 kids showed up. So not something we're used to. And I think the feedback I'm getting here, at least, is people are tired of virtual programming, and they want something in person.
Thanks for sharing.
This is Susan again. Oh, I'm sorry. From Town of Boston.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that one of the things that we found, we did quite a few outperformers and programmers. It just really, the platform varied a lot. The way we presented it to patrons varied a lot. So it's different than in-house, where when you're in-house, and you're pretty much marketing it the same way and presenting it the same way. So it's a little more time consuming, I think, just trying to figure out, okay, with Turtle Dance Company, we're doing it over this platform, and it's gonna be live. Whereas with this one, we're doing it over Facebook, and it's not gonna be live. But I have to post it on this day and down on this day. So logistically, I think it was a lot to kind of get our head around at first. But the patrons, I don't think it dwindled too much for us. And we had a couple of really great things for teens that we came up with closer to the end of the summer. And those were very popular. We just did a 6-foot slingshot art. We tried to take that 6-foot distance that everybody's talking about and kind of spin it into something good or fun, at least for the teens. So early on, we had a challenge where we gave them materials, but we didn't tell them what they were going to have to do. They picked them up from the library. And then on the Zoom call, the person who ran it gave them a challenge. They had to create a spoon or some sort of contraption, eat cereal out of a bowl that was 6 feet away. So with a lot of laughter and a lot of interest in that. And then 2 weeks ago, she did this slingshot art for teens, and she gave them all the materials, but they had to build their slingshot. And then they literally were like slinging paint at a canvas that was 6 feet away. It's also very popular. We had a waiting list for it. So we just tried to be more creative, I guess, near the end of the summer, because we were a little bit worried about that fatigue. We actually did not schedule any August programs until we saw how the July programs went. And then we added just a few on in August. So that was our experience.
That sounds fantastic. I kind of want to try and make a
It was fun.
So maybe we should switch gears slightly and just talk a little bit about story times. We've talked about registration, virtual story times, and I think this idea of virtual meeting fatigue. I'd love to know or hear a bit about your experiences doing your virtual story times, what you've found that works well, what you would sort of take away from this summer and use in the fall, and also if you're sort of incorporating the parents in this virtual story times, sort of engaging the child and the parents together in any way.
I'll say something again, sorry. We've tried to really keep in mind that parents are exhausted too. They're overwhelmed. I'm a parent of 3 kids. And so as we do our programming, we've tried to think about things that required a minimal amount of effort from the parents actually. One example is that we do a book club for some young kids, and it's a picture book. And traditionally we give out the book and they read the book before they come to the book club. But we had a couple instances where the child did not have a chance to read the book. The parent just never read the book with the child. And at first, the thinking of the person who ran that book club was a little annoyed, like, oh, they didn't even read the book. I don't really want to reread the book during the program, but it's a picture book. It doesn't take very long to read, and it really helps the parents out. And the ones who've already read it, I'm sure will be perfectly happy to hear it again. So we just tried to shift our thinking a little bit and to try to be helpful instead of, make a program be more work for a parent. We didn't want them to really have to put out too much effort. We just did our first grab and go this month, and it was a huge hit. And we made it super easy. You don't have to sign up in advance. Send us an email if you have time so we know about how many to make. But it was extremely easy. They just picked it up from a bin right out by our sidewalk. And parents loved that. If they were driving by, they could just stop in and get one. It was minimal effort for them. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but that's one of the things we're trying to do. We did do we did a parent-child yoga. But again, there was no prep work involved. The parent didn't have to do anything in advance. I just think that right now that's harder for people than maybe it normally is.
Thank you.
The other thing with repeating the book, remember, repetition is great for kids. Yeah, so it serves everybody to repeat it. I love the idea, though, of really thinking consciously and intentionally about the parents and what we can do to make things easier for them while we're still encouraging early literacy.
I forgot to mention before some family programs we did. Each week we had a weekly challenge that you could do as a family. One of the last ones we did was try a recipe, making a recipe together that you've never tried before, and then they send us the pictures. Another week it was the glow stick dance. Alyssa had her teens do a sample video where you put glow bracelets and necklaces on you and film yourself in the dark, so all you see are the lights moving. And families submitted their videos to us. We had 6 different ones, and if they submitted anything to us, they were entered into a prize drawing, and that was very popular. That, and every week we had a different scavenger hunt, and same thing, they could send us pictures of what they found or the family doing it together, and those were very easy on our end, but they seemed to have a lot of fun with it.
And Marie, that glow dance, I wonder if you did that again, if you could make all the family videos into like one, so that then that could be a family dance, that everybody could turn that video on. They'd have music, yeah. They could watch somebody else in the dark, but they could be dancing themselves.
That's true.
Make use of it.
That's true.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if... since you're not going to be able to identify the people, right, in the glow dance videos because it's in the dark.
They'll be more willing to do it.
Maybe so.
I like that idea.
And along the line of dancing, I was thinking, too, a picture book, and then putting on a song that goes with it, and encouraging people to dance at home to that, and then maybe do and have that be a regular thing that you do. So it's a little bit of the exercise and the movement, but it's also tying in a picture book, and it's not as much work because you just need a book and a song.
I don't do the story times right now because I'm the teen librarian, but I can say for my colleagues that they've been just doing recorded story times all summer, and they seem to be really, really popular. They're posted on Facebook every week, so they're doing weekly ones, and they get a lot of views within the month. So I don't know when people are watching them, but they're able to go back and watch them on either Facebook or YouTube. And you can see they're getting like hundreds of views and lots of likes and comments. It seems like they have some regulars that come or watch them every week. We're not really sure how the Zoom ones are going to go, but I think they're going to do one weekly Zoom story time in the fall just to see how it goes. For me, for teen stuff, just to mention some teen stuff, we've been doing Kahoot teen trivia every week, and we don't get a huge turnout at all, but we have some regulars that have been coming weekly, and we're doing it live, which has been really fun via Zoom, because you can kind of add sound and pictures to it, and that's been really fun. And then we have online D&D we've been doing via Roll20, which has been very popular but not very successful because we just can't get the tech to work. And so that's been a challenge. People just kind of drop off every now and then in the Roll20 platform. And so now we're going to try it via Zoom and see how that goes. So.
Cool. Thanks for sharing.
I'm going to pick up chat here. Susan Flint says, love the scavenger hunt idea. One of our summer reading challenges was to drive around our library parking lot looking for and counting the Cinderella slippers that we had hidden in windows, trees, and other places around the area. Patrons loved it. What an easy, great thing. And Gail says the recorded story times with thematic take and make bags have been very popular. We're going to do these again in the fall along with some live Zoom sessions. Great.
Very cool. So we've kind of discussed programming fairly thoroughly, I think, to some extent. I also don't want to torture everyone with more Zoom meetings all day than they already have to. But I would love for you to be able to ask questions of your colleagues. So if you have a question that you'd like to share with the group, and we can sort of work through it together or bounce ideas off each other, please, by all means, share.
Has anybody done a virtual escape room on Zoom?
We've thought about it, but we haven't done it. We're planning one for the fall, but we haven't done it yet.
Unmuted.
Apparently,
We have that.
No, sorry.
Go ahead, Anne Marie.
Sorry, that was one of the family challenges we did. And there are a lot of free escape rooms that other libraries have done and are sharing. And also Alyssa's Teens made one specific for the family challenge, but there's so many out there. You don't even have to do it. Just find it and share it.
Yeah, I was going to say Teen Underground.
Thank you very much.
A lot of them. So check Teen Underground.
One thing I wanted to mention that we've been doing that surprised me in how popular it was with teens was writing. We've been having an ongoing series of fiction and journaling writing workshops for consecutive weeks. One that I've been having for younger kids has been going on for 8 weeks. And we haven't had a huge group. We've had 6 or 7 kids for the younger one, but the teen one has had maybe 10, and we're doing it again in the fall. And it surprised me because I thought maybe kids would feel like, oh, that seems too much like work, and I've already been through school and it's virtual, but they're really enjoying it because they get to share their thoughts and with other people, and they get prompts from the instructor, and they very clearly and very early on, the instructor said, this is a judgment-free zone, this is a bully-free zone, everyone's ideas are valid. And she set it up in such a way that everyone felt comfortable to express themselves. So I suggest, if you haven't tried any kind of fiction writing or creative writing or journaling, to give it a thought for the fall.
Linda, I don't know if you noticed in the chat, but I think Emily was asking what platform you use to reach your teens, but maybe that's more of a general question for everyone, but yeah.
At first we used Zoom, and then we had in our description on Communico that you have to have Zoom downloaded, you have to have a valid email. We will send you an invitation 2 hours prior, and then it was getting to be very time consuming because we had so many sessions. I was hosting them, I was admitting everyone, then the writer was joining. So she eventually ended up getting WebEx and hosting her own sessions. So now the writer who teaches these does it through WebEx, and she sends her own invitations. And I look at Communico at the attendance list before her class, make sure no one else is joined, and I just update her every time before to make sure the attendance is what it was. She sends out all the invitations, and it works great.
Does anyone else have any questions they'd love to share with the group?
Is anyone working on ways to get books in front of kids? You know, we're having a few in-person visits, but these books have got to get out into, into the community somehow. I usually visit the 6th grade and bring, dozens of books for them, and we have a monthly genre thing. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to be able to sort of book talk and let kids browse when they can't touch anything, and they probably can't use the library space in the school either.
We've been doing, I think I said at Saratoga Springs, we've been doing the Animoto book talks, and then my colleague does the middle grade book talks. So she book talks about 6 books every 2 weeks, and she puts all the books on her Animoto, and then she's ordering them. We've just been ordering a lot of ebooks, and so anything that we book talk, we just make sure to order as an ebook so that if they can't have access to it physically, that they can still get a copy, and ordering just additional copies like that. And then we started our browsing at SSPL, so people can come in and we have select books set aside for them to browse. So if it's something through a book club or something, we would just order additional copies and have those available for them to check out.
We did. This is Ruth.
We are working with the school librarians, and we're going to do presentations monthly about books, and then we're getting all the students library cards so that they can access our ebook platform to try to get more books for them, since they also can't use the library up there right now.
Okay, this is Ruth Galway again. Sorry about over talking you. We tried something with our summer reading, which of course maybe something other libraries have done before. I don't know. We have canvas bags, and each bag, depending on how big the books are, the high school bags, if it was a good sized book, they usually had 2. The younger ones would have usually around 5. And we had them according to a theme, but they were frequently different genres, or at least different authors, something that maybe the other kids hadn't exposed themselves to yet. Because it was during all of this pandemic stuff, or the kids would decide the bags were organized by level and by theme, and the kids would decide which one they wanted. They get to keep the book or the bag for a week, and there was a little activity or a prize or something in each bag, and the kids would bring the bags back at the end of the week, whether they've read all the books or none of them or a couple of them. At least it's exposing them to other types of books that they may never have really looked at on the shelf and thought, I want to look at that. And then when they bring them back, of course, they get to keep their activity or their prize. We put another one in, and the books have to be quarantined for however long to make sure they're safe to check out again. But that has actually been pretty popular. They've been going in and out fairly well. It just is a way, you know, if you say this bag is about, I don't know, fairies and gnomes or something, we had several of them. And so they knew that there would be a subject they might like, but they might find a graphic novel and they've never seen one. Or they might be graphic novel readers, but they found other books that were actually quite interesting when they got into them. And we did find a few kids who came back and said, you know, I never read anything like that before. That was really good. Can I find something else? So it was wonderful.
I guess that brings up another question about sort of books and circulating materials and what services your libraries are going to offer. I know that one of the discussions that has been brought up recently are you going to be circulating your board books?
We do.
Nodding.
We circulate the board books. Didn't really think about the fact that they could be chewed on by little kids or anything else like that. They seem to come back in good shape and they're quarantined with everything else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're treated just like any other circulating item. You know, and I would think that would be true of any picture book. You know, kids have messy hands, but they're quarantined. So for the 96 hours for the 4 days. So we don't see that as an issue.
That was, board books were one of the materials specifically tested in that scientific testing sponsored by the Institute of Museum and Library Services, that Project Realm testing, and they were found to be free of the virus after 4 days. So just like most of our other things.
We aren't circulating them in Albany. No board books and no magazines.
Yeah. It's a policy decision for the library. And I think that, you know, the concern is that we know that babies chew on board books. We know that they're toys for them. I think at the same time, they need books just like all the other kids need books. So we need to be kind of monitoring what our personal fears are versus what the scientific evidence is saying versus what services we want to offer, and kind of weighing all those things out and recognizing that often those decisions aren't ours personally to make, but maybe we can provide some input into them.
In Schenectady, we are still circulating them and you know, quarantine for 4 days like everything else. And I'll tell you that the books that are in that collection right now look absolutely fabulous, because I don't know if you all are having the same problem, but it's like there's so much stuff in the building right now. It's like they're getting weeded a lot by condition because I don't have room for my board books on my little holder. So anything that's there is in tip-top shape.
I imagine this is a great time to weed for condition, because you can really see it as it's coming back through. What other services do you have questions about?
I have a question about scheduling. Like, I'm having so much trouble wrapping my brain around how far out in advance to schedule, how to create some structure that people, that staff and patrons can rely on as far as virtual programming goes, but then also having some ability to be nimble in there. We had a department meeting last Thursday, and Nancy Gifford, who some of you know is retired, she sits in on our meetings still. And I had this moment where I was like, oh yeah, right. If it's all virtual, then it doesn't really matter if we stick to days of the week. Like, this is this day, because when those virtual programs go up, it's like, okay, you watch it on Wednesday when it's released, or you watch it on Friday. It doesn't really matter. But then I still feel like there needs to be some structure there in terms of being able to promote things, like, and having a new content going up on a consistent basis. So I'm just like, the marketing and the scheduling of programs virtually, or just everything that is virtual. I'm really working at how to make it easy for parents, how to make it easy for us, and how to have some give, you know? So I'm curious how everybody else is kind of, where your heads are at as far as that goes.
Kayla, we're scheduling all our story times, our virtual babies, music and motion and story times on Wednesdays. So parents know that at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, they're going to find some new content. And then on Saturdays, they're going to know they're going to find either a craft or what we're calling a boredom buster. So they're going to follow that schedule, and they know every time they tune in, they're going to find something new. So that's how we figured we would keep it easy for parents, and we would keep it fresh for them. And then we're only going to record, we're doing it on Facebook Live this time instead of Zoom, and we're going to start it in September, and we're going to record through October, just do 4 weeks and then see what the viewership is like. We're also going to record for YouTube in August with our social media person, sort of just to get a few in the can and put them aside in case somebody's sick on the day they have to record, or God forbid we should have to close again. We'll have some content to put out there. So those will be for YouTube, just to put aside and to put up anytime. And then the others will be Facebook Live, and then the parents will know, and we have them on Communico in our calendar. They'll know there's something coming every Wednesday at 10. That's how we're handling it.
I'm from the Children's Museum at Saratoga, and we're kind of in the same situation with trying to figure out what we can manage to put out, or how much content we can manage to put out. So we do keep a schedule of our programs. Now we're doing virtual still and in-person outside programs. So we have had to cut back on how many virtual programs we do in a given week. But we do have a calendar where we keep everything uniform, so that our visitors and our members can look at the calendar and know that there will be a story time posted on this day of the week at 10:30. But if we do have time to develop extra content, then it doesn't necessarily need to be on our calendar. It can be sort of like a bonus or a special event, so that when people do visit our Facebook page, that content is still there for them. And we also end up sending all of our virtual and at-home learning content in emails every week as well, so that that content is delivered that way too. It's just a matter of knowing what you can definitely handle as far as content to create each week, and putting that in a schedule. And then, you know, if you are able to develop more content, then all the better. And that can be put out almost randomly too.
Sorry, I think that was mine. I wanted just to tell you that we do the same. We at the Brentsville Library, we're very small. So we put out, Heidi puts out my story time on Thursday morning. And then the following Monday, she has a newsletter that covers the whole community, everything's going on, the Historical Society, fire department. She has this, and then in that, she also includes the story time connection to YouTube. So she gets the people who don't use Facebook by giving them a newsletter, and you sign up for the newsletter if you gave money to the library, or if you it's a MailChimp thing, so you can just sign up for it. So that's how we connect, and we're very small, so we don't have a big turnout with story time or those things either, but we're still doing it. I think we plan to keep doing that until the library's open. Sorry, got the sound in the beginning.
No problem, thanks. Susan asked a question here that I think everyone would like to hear. Do any libraries have policies about whether librarians and staff should do virtual programs in the library or from their home? Is it up to the individual? So they have staff that do prefer one or the other, and as patrons come back into the library, it may be more difficult to do them in the library where space is an issue. Any thoughts on this? There was a few responses in the chat.
Just unmute myself for a minute and add to that. We definitely have people who prefer one spot or the other. Up until now, we've been very accommodating about that because we are working from home still about half the time. But I just wonder in the future if there should be more of a policy in place for that. So I guess it's just something to think about. And I'll also note that we have continued to do our story times, but we haven't recorded any of our story times. We do them all live, and maybe that's the nature of the library and the patrons and the numbers that we get. We have maybe 10 to 15 children on each one, and I have found them to be really fun to be interactive. So I'm literally talking with the kids. I'll ask a question. I'll say, raise your hand if you love dogs, and they all raise their hand. And with the Zoom, I'm easily able to mute everybody when I actually read the book. Then I can unmute them when we're singing Old MacDonald Has a Farm. And we haven't really recorded them, but maybe that's something that we should start to do more in the fall, because it certainly would open up that timing for people. Early on, we had discussed that there were some concerns from some of our staff that maybe we don't want ourselves just out there on the internet for the whole world to see me singing Old MacDonald Has a Farm. So, maybe my high school boyfriend doesn't need to be able to Google and find that. So we were a little bit hesitant, and, we like the idea that the people are signing up. We know who's there. We have a password. Usually we love kids, and they're putting it in, and they're joining us, and we're, oh, hi, Cole. Hi, Susanna. And, so that's the way we've done it until now, but it's really interesting for me to hear how many of you are recording them. So I'm making notes here, and I'm going to talk about it with the staff.
I have a question. I don't know if anyone's mentioned yet, but we recently realized that a lot of the story time permissions by publishers were not extended. Some of them, a couple of the big publishers extended until December, but many of them didn't. And so the cutoff date was, I believe, June, the end of June. And so we realized we had to go back with all our recorded story times and check to see which publishers we'd used and actually take them down from Facebook and YouTube. So I was just wondering if anyone else was having issue with that, because if, we can only use the publishers, I guess, that have been permitted for those story times, whether it's live or recorded. And so that kind of limits the books that you're able to use. So I just wonder if anyone had thoughts about that.
At Upper Hudson, we've taken the position following ALA's copyright expert who says it's fair use. It's fair use, so you don't need specific permission from publishers to use a book in a video story time. And my recollection of what she said in terms of how long it stays up,
a month.
And I might be interpreting this as well, but I think, Sue, you weighed in on a month?
Yeah, they say really keep it up for a month and make sure when you're doing the story time that you give credit to the title, the author, the illustrator, and the publisher, and make sure you add that information. And then and I can send that article out embedded in the notes when I send them out again, because I'm still going by, I agree with Mary. I think it's fair use. And if you get things off after a month, it's not up there in perpetuity?
Perpetuity.
Thank you.
Yep.
A big word for the day.
Has anybody come up with any successful programming for babies? We feel that's really difficult to do over Zoom. We didn't do any for the summer. We did do a toddler session. I sat in on a few times. One of the other things that we do here is we always have a backup person on all of our live programs over Zoom, so that if there's any technology issues or if a patron needs help, the one of us can jump off and assist. I found that to be very successful and helpful. Even if somebody just starts, choking a little bit, there's another librarian right there to jump in and say, oh, and take over. The toddler one that I observed was complete chaos, and I wonder about babies. We have had somebody say they'd really like to see some baby programming in the fall, but I just don't know how that's going to work well over Zoom. I welcome your thoughts.
If I could just answer, at Schenectady, Julie Dolly did a program for babies. She used her son as the example and read a book and then pointed out in the video things that parents should do with your babies. So if you've got a baby, or you can get a baby from someone and do some of the parent engagement and suggestions to parents to how to read a book to a baby and things like that, because really you really want to educate and entertain the parents, not just the babies. And there's some other suggestions on Joyce Leosa did a 6 video series, Virtual Advantage, for us in the spring on doing early literacy and information to give to parents. And if you can play games or play with blocks and with a baby, if you've got a baby or a cat or whatever, and put those parent tips in, because assumedly we're not asking parents to put their baby in front of the camera or in front of the screen to watch. It's the engagement back and forth, which is really what you want, and that's more one-on-one. So that's one thought of a way to handle that. And I'll see if that link's still up, Kayla, and put that in there. And the virtual, not up anymore? Okay.
Any other questions before we move on a little bit? So Sue and Mary, I guess this is our little portion where we'd like to promote some of the support for homeschoolers and hybrid learners for the fall. We'd also really love to hear your plans to support homeschoolers, new homeschoolers, and hybrid learners for the fall? Or do you have plans?
So let us tell you about the series that we've got planned for you. And Sue and Jack, you can help me with the details of some of this, but we're offering a three-part continuing education on learning from home. And the first part, which is on, help me with the date, guys.
September 2nd.
September 2nd.
1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock, we have Deanna McGregor coming from Liverpool Public Library, and she is their homeschool librarian. So this is what her job is, to work with the homeschool families in their community and to help library staff understand how to serve them better. So she's going to do a presentation for us, a virtual presentation, of course, on just an overview of homeschooling in New York State. And so that will be useful just to build some baseline knowledge. The second presentation, which is going to be on September 11th, time, is it also at 1?
I think you wanted it in the morning.
Oh, I'm looking.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're going to do that one in the morning.
All right, and we're going to have a flyer on this shortly with all the details. But this one is a panel presentation, and so after this meeting, we will all send out to our listservs an inquiry to you about whether you would be interested in being considered to be on this panel if homeschooling is something you have done with your own children. We're trying with this panel to get representation across diverse reasons for homeschooling, diverse curriculums, diverse age groups, that sort of thing, so it can be as broad as possible. So we'll have you answer a survey, and then we will get back with you one way or another. So that will be on the September 11th at 10 in the morning, that panel discussion. And then the third piece is in October, and that will just kind of be a follow-up. You know, at that point, schools will have been in session longer. We'll have some learning from those previous 2 sessions that we might want to follow up on a little bit more, present more information on, and that will be a really good chance for all of you to bring your questions and your experiences so far in this year that's going to contain not just homeschooling, but hybrid schooling for a lot of parents, as well as traditional schooling. So watch for a flyer on those 3 things very soon.
Yeah, I'll add that Deanna's, we've asked her to focus more on the younger age of children rather than the older age of children for assisting parents with homeschooling, as well as we're working on developing a website that we'll share across all 3 systems. So any great resources you guys are already using and know about, please send them our way to either Mary, Jack, or I, and we'll get them up on that website to make it easier to find.
And just to add, the reason we've asked her to focus in on a younger age group is because we're paying for this out of our family literacy grant, which specifies that we do things on early literacy. So that's why. It doesn't mean that she's not going to talk a little bit about the older kids, but we had to do that.
Just an FYI, Heather shared one of her colleagues, Sarah, does 5-minute baby bounce videos, and she shared the link for that in the chat.
Great.
So are there any questions or any thoughts about homeschooling hybrid learners for the fall?
Do all of your school systems have a plan now? Seeing some nods of heads.
So the next sort of piece we have on the agenda. And I think this is kind of critical in how we go about thinking for the fall, and especially with everything being more virtual these days. Is anyone doing anything to support their community members who don't have easy access or don't have access to internet or have very limited access to internet?
We just have, this is Anne Marie from Colony. We have free Wi-Fi, so they come into the parking lot. And also, we're open for computer appointments. We have 4 computers, so we can serve 4 patrons at a time. They have an hour at each appointment, and then a half hour in between for cleaning. And we have 4 sessions a day for that.
Oh, Kathy mentioned they purchased 30 Chromebooks for loan. I think one of the issues we have in the Southern Adirondacks is many of our libraries are looking to purchase hotspots to loan out, but there's no cell phone service. So a lot of them have looked into it and then decided there's no point. So those hotspots are great, but you need mobile service still. Any other thoughts?
I wasn't here in the beginning of the meeting, so I don't know if you talked about the story walks, but we're also a community that doesn't have good Wi-Fi. So the story walk that we just put up is very successful. Heidi's really happy that she can see people are coming by. We're going to set up the thing to count people, but we've had some community things going on right in the park that we put it in. So she's happy, thinking that's probably the biggest contribution we've made through COVID for our community that doesn't have good Wi-Fi. And she has opened up the library for browsing, but I think it's like 1 person at a time. And it's it's pretty technically difficult, but it's open for people. And we do have Wi-Fi if you sit outside. So those are the 2 things we do here in Rensselaerville. Yeah. But story walk, thanks to Mary and Amy, it's great. It's really going great. So thank you.
So at the Children's Museum at Saratoga, one of the things that we've been doing to reach students affected by the digital divide is we've used our education kits that we have available. They're all unplugged, and they come with everything that you'd need to do certain activities, science experiments, and they come with a lesson plan as well for an adult to help facilitate or for the student to read through themselves. So we've just been donating those where we can in the area, the Franklin Community Center, Captain, Mechanicville Community Center, and in the process of getting some out to some other libraries in the SALS system as well. So hopefully meet up with Jack later this week to hand some of those over. But that's what we're doing. We're just focusing on the unplugged learning that we can focus on that doesn't require access to Wi-Fi or the internet to do fun educational activities.
Thanks, Jessica.
We've been focusing on our take and make crafts. We started them in July, and we've already made over 600 bags. We've already distributed over 415, and we'll probably get up to around, I don't know, maybe 800 by the time we're done. But they are flying out the door, and it is all paper craft, easy stuff to do, a lot of stuff we had in our ridiculously full craft closet, stuff left over from other crafts. We're trying to recycle as much as we can, and people love them, and the parents give us the same, oh, it doesn't involve a screen, it means they're going to have to think, use their imagination, and it's no screen time. So we love doing them. We're like Santa's elves. We like sing that song while we're doing them, and the kids really love them. So that is a great screen buster, and the parents absolutely love that the kids are finding something they can do for a good hour, and each kit comes out differently. So we're doing a different one every week.
They've been really popular at our library. Amy has gone above and beyond, and also our other assistant, Rebecca, they've been flying out the door, and we've gotten so much positive feedback from that. It's amazing.
One other point out, I don't know if other libraries, maybe everyone is already doing this, but we tied ours to a book. So we chose an online book that was in Hoopla that all of our patrons could access. And so in the instructions, it was read this book in Hoopla or any book about a dragon if they didn't want to read the online book. So I think in the fall, we'll continue that, probably do one each month, but tie each one of them to a book to kind of keep that connection.
Cool. I want to put in a thought here. We talk of libraries as being the center of the community and the heart of the community in some sense. And people don't have relationships with buildings or organizations. They have relationships with other people. And it strikes me that this is a perfect time for us to really work on developing those personal relationships. I read something about a library that put up a librarian reading a book every day or every other day, and the kids just looked forward to seeing that one book. And they partly looked forward to seeing the librarian who either they knew or they were getting to know. And then if they see that librarian in person, maybe giving out a make and take bag or, behind the desk or something when we get to that point, they already feel like they have that relationship. So thinking about that as we have these services, thinking about even if we're doing the make and take bags, maybe doing a video of us putting it together so that people who want to can connect with that, they don't have to, gives you a chance to be the face of the library and to be that caring person who works at the library and cares about that child, cares about that family, and, makes them feel a little bit less alone. So just a thought about trying to maximize our relationship building during this time. And some of that is by having them see us on camera.
Nicely put, Mary. Well, it's about 2:20 in the afternoon. This has been a long Zoom or GoToMeeting call, but I really appreciate you all coming, and I appreciate your thoughts and insights. So if anyone has any parting questions or anything they'd like to share before we go, if not.
I'll share. I'll miss you all. I'm retiring September 15th. So I'll be moving on to using my library card at the Quaker Street branch instead of Mohawk Valley. And MVLS will be sending out after the board meeting this Thursday a job announcement because I will be replaced, even though I probably can't be replaced, at least in my own mind.
Sue, that is true. That is absolutely true.
It is.
It is.
And I'm going to miss getting these advanced reader copies and books and sharing everything, but it's been a really good run, and thank you all for being a part of it.
Congratulations.
It's been great working with you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Sue. Well deserved. Enjoy all that bird watching.
I think the biggest problem is figuring out how I'm going to get all this stuff in this office into my house. So we'll see.
I have a question. I know I came in late, so I'm not sure that this was addressed in the first part when you guys were talking about fall programming. And maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm just wondering if people are thinking ahead to Halloween, because I know that our local youth trunk or treat is most likely going to be canceled. So I'm just wondering if people are thinking of ideas other than, like take and makes and, holiday videos, that type of thing, how to find a way to, have a community event that would replace some type of trunk or treat or trick or treat or something for the kids with costumes.
We're not doing anything really with costumes, but we've decided to do a pumpkin luminary. So we're going to work with farmers to get everybody a pumpkin, and then they can bring them in, and we're going to, we're open so they can come drop them off. And then on Halloween night, as staff, will go out and line the walkway. So they're not coming as a group, but it still just kind of looks cool when you walk by. Something little we can try to do.
I've heard about a few libraries doing a pumpkin carving, because you could do it on the lawn, an outside pumpkin carving if possible, and having some resources there for people to get together but socially distant, and sort of have a mini celebration that way as sort of an outside program, nature, growing seeds, family-oriented program is a thought.
Gail and Debbie, I wondered if you would talk a little bit about what you just had, and that if that might be an idea that could be resized for Halloween.
It could. It was called a nursery rhyme and fairy tale drive-through adventure. Some of you might have seen it. We were, me as Mother Goose, I was interviewed by Channel 13 News, and it was a community involvement. We got the school involved, the drama club, the 4-H kids to bring their animals, and it was safe. It was a drive-through adventure, which meant that at each station where there were stories, families would drive through, and things were spaced really very far apart. It was a nice big space. We held it at the high school because they have a nice circular way that the cars could drive. And each unit that did a nursery rhyme, and they were fractured. They were really funny. It was a family unit, so they were doing it together. Therefore, kids weren't commingling from different families. And we had, based on what we handed out, we had about 50 volunteers and close to 300 people who came through, and it was amazing. It was so much fun. Everyone was so excited to see other families in the cars. They're waving to one another, yet it was safe. Safe and fun, included literature, included the theme. And I agree, Mary, I think that's something that absolutely could be replicated for a Halloween theme. And I actually saw something, I think there's someplace locally that is doing a drive-through Halloween sort of adventure. And also the Altamont Fairgrounds is doing something.
Hey, Mary, this is Kelly from Waterville. I just had a thought on something you said earlier. You're talking about videos and connecting to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Just one thing that happened at Waterville that's very noticeable is I've made a few videos here and there. Karen, who does the regular story time, she does a few every hours a week. We had a few hits on performers, but literally the most successful thing we've done all summer was asking a fireman to read a book for us and encourage the kids to sign up for summer reading. Mm-hmm. The amount of attention it got was exponential in comparison to everyone else. Now, he talked about the library in it. He talked about summer reading, go to the website. I'm going to read you this story today. But it went everywhere. So just something to think about. I mean, I think honestly, people might get a little fatigued of seeing us all the time. So if there are any organizations you can work with in your community, and really it was as simple as, I did kind of have some trouble getting them to come to me, but one day I just drove over to the fire hall with a board book in hand that hadn't been touched in a very long time, obviously. And, you know, I had to wait a few minutes, but really it took, you know, 5 minutes of his time, and turned out being great, I think, for both the fire department and the library. So.
Well, it's wonderful, Kelly. Thanks for sharing that idea. And what's nice is you can still be an introduction to that story. So they still can see you and connect it to the library if you do it that way. But then they get to see their firefighter and the equipment and the trucks and all that sort of too. Nice idea. Could do that with, you know, the heavy duty equipment for the town or the village as well. You know how libraries have petting zoos with construction equipment. Do something like that as well too.
Yep, that's a very good idea.
All right, well, thanks everyone for coming. It looks like Sue's looking out the window trying to find some birds, so maybe we should call it a meeting.
I was looking at the pouring rain.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Although I think there might be a rainbow.
Well,
There's a sun too. Sorry.
Nice to see you all.
Nice to see you soon. Goodbye.
Take care. Have a nice week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And now there's elephants on the roof.
Sue, I think we can stop the recording now.